podcast is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm. This is Baseball Outside the Box with Peter Caliendo. Innovative thoughts from baseball's best coaching minds from around the world. Brought to you by lineupmedia.fm. Now your host, former USA Baseball National Team Coach, Peter Caliendo.
Hello, BC minor baseball coaches. How you doing? Hey, it's great to be on, and I miss you all, man. I hope you guys are all doing great. It's been a year since I've seen you all. Some of the best baseball coaches in the world, one of the best baseball conventions I have ever been to. And remember, I've been over 40 countries. Love BC Baseball Minor. Special thanks to the president, Grant Butler, and also the coaching director, Mike Kelly. Thanks for allowing me to present this presentation to all the coaches in BC minor baseball. And it's great to be able to at least give back somehow here. Hope everybody's doing well and safe and that you're all healthy. Keep in mind, health is so important. Miss you guys all. Wish we were all there in that beautiful facility. Over 200 coaches, get a chance to talk and mingle and hang out, and then a little socializing also, but do miss everybody. And I want to thank you all for having me be a part of your association for over 10 years with the Caravan and the Coaches Convention. It's been outstanding. So listen, let's get started with the presentation. I'm going to do a little screen sharing here. I'm the producer, director of this show. So I'm going to have to do the sharing a little bit, and you're going to see here in a minute the presentation pop up. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go. All right. First of all, as I always talk about, put it on social media all the time. I believe it. It's you guys are one of the best baseball organizations. Thank goodness for volunteers, for and volunteers, not only in BC baseball, but all over the world. We would not have a strong foundation of sport continuing to grow. You've heard me say many times, volunteers, the most important person in baseball. Not that, high school, college, or professionals are not, but, volunteers are the key to the foundation of sport. As if you're training kids well, you know this, on a long-term basis, they'll stay in the game longer. They won't quit. They quit for a lot of different reasons, but a lot of them is, they're not having fun at practice, as you know, and they're not really enjoying the coach that much. So they'll find a little bit easier sport to play. But I believe what you guys are doing keeps the kids in the game longer, and more countries should be seeing what you're doing. So again, special thanks to BC Baseball for everything you do to grow the game. Hey, you all have my email, Peter Caliendo, ATT. I've got two of them, and Caliendo19 Gmail. I know you're going to get this presentation later, we can watch it again. So if you need the information, feel free to email me anytime. And also my social media. Yeah, we're all involved in social media, right? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Always trying to put great tips on there. Most of the videos and tips are on Twitter at Baseball Out. It's also on Facebook, but also on Instagram. So check it out and follow me, and I will follow you back. Always love to know what you're doing. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Don't forget the podcast. You heard the beginning of it. If you can't subscribe to it, baseballoutsidethebox.com. A lot of great speakers. We went to YouTube also at Peter Caliendo. You can actually see the speakers there. So we do the shows, great talks, not just at the high levels, but all levels. So please do me a favor. If you get a chance, subscribe to YouTube at Peter Caliendo. I'm trying to build a subscription there, and your assistance would really be great if you can help me out. Just subscribe. It's really 3 steps. You go to YouTube, you put my name in, it comes up, you see subscribe, hit it, and you're done. Then you get all the updates of all the shows when a new show is up. You can do the same thing with the podcast. So either way, and podcasts are good because, if you're mowing your lawn, or if you're exercising, or whatever you're doing, walking, you can listen to the podcast. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. So again, check it out. I appreciate it. And Caliendo Sports International. These are my business where I take teams around the world for baseball, sports, actually, softball, all kinds of sports, but take them around the world. Sometimes we put teams together, and sometimes we take whole teams. It might be your team somewhere around the world. We can go anywhere. I concentrate a lot on Dominican, Cuba, Italy, and Japan, but we go all over the world. So if you're interested, just get a hold of me. I'll tell you more about it. And now, what's my topic? There's so many great topics out there. Mine is how to train players prior and during games. And I'll tell you why, and also prior to practices. I'll tell you why I picked this because, we don't have a lot of time to practice. Now, some of you might have a lot of practices before your season begins. Um, a lot of you may have only, 6 to 10, maybe less sometimes. So you got to continue to train your players mentally and physically. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And some of it is actually prior to games and actually during games. So we're going to discuss those things. First thing is make sure, please, remember, these are young kids. We got to develop great habits, right? We want to do some of the following things to create a good culture for your club. The reason you want to do these, because when it creates good habits, then they continue to do these. And as a team, they get better when they're doing certain things. It's not always necessarily baseball related, and sometimes it is. So let's check it out real quick. First of all, you have far more impact than anybody when it comes to coaching. So coaching should be a privilege. Those little young guys, man, they're special. Their minds are brand new. So what you say, how you say it, hopefully you're not saying a lot. You're asking more questions. That's more important. Try not to say too much. But when you do, use simple words. But let them feel things. Let them experience. Let them do it. And then ask them how it feels. So, take your responsibility. Very important, because you are, again, the foundation of the sport. I don't care what anybody says. I've said it a million times on the show, and I've said it at the convention. It has nothing to do who I'm speaking to. It has to do with the facts. The volunteer coaches are the number one coaches in the world when it comes to building the foundation of sport. That doesn't mean other coaches aren't important, but you and guys and gals are critical. So take it very seriously. And don't forget, have fun. Now, everybody says have fun. What does that mean? Well, it means a lot of different things. And hopefully we'll get into those a little bit as we get into the presentation here. Now, first thing is, you should get your players involved in maintaining the field, right? Prior to practice, after practice, whatever it may be, give them some responsibilities. Why? It's their field. They maintain it, not the coaches. You are going to show them how to do it, but let them do it. It's important that they build an understanding of what the field should be like, whatever field you work on. And it's even small projects. So, get them involved in that. And if you have older players, get the senior guys, the older players, to do it and show it as an example, not the rookies. And here you see Japanese players, they all have to work on the field. Matter of fact, a lot of these players haven't even made the roster, possibly. Your equipment. Is your equipment always organized? That's critical in building discipline, understanding, so they know where the equipment's all at. Where does that start? That starts the first day practice. Boom. Setting up the equipment. Who sets it up? The players do. When they come in, where they put the equipment. When they don't do it, just kind of look at them. They get an idea. If you kind of give a little stare and smile, maybe they'll understand that, hey, I didn't put my helmet away. If they don't get it, then just explain it to them. Matt, there's your helmet. What should it be? Let's do it, man. Do it with a smile and do it with some excitement too when you tell them things, because sometimes you do have to remind them. It's going to take a little time. Create habits. So where your equipment's at is important. So you know where it's at all time. Treat it first class. Treat it well. That equipment is equipment you need to play the game. So why would you not maintain it really well? And also where your water bottlers are at, or anything else that you have in the dugout. After you're done, what should your batting, cages or field or dugout look like after you're done? It should be spotless. Doesn't matter if the other team had a bunch of junk on the ground. We pick it all up. Again, if you're an older club, have your seniors do it. Your seniors will lead in that area. Remember, again, you're building discipline, you're building respect, you're building continuity, building a culture for the club that we do things the right way all the time. And again, it's going to take some time. You're not going to get it done in one day. Just keep reminding them, keep practicing it. Don't leave the dugout till it's spotless. I just stand there and wait, and then guys figure it out. Oh, they still got stuff on the ground, and it's not your stuff. It's anybody. So if there's whatever's on the ground, doesn't have to be yours to pick it up. Explain it to your players ahead of time. You just want to pick each other up. That's what you do in ball games, right? Pick each other up. So whoever sees it first gets it. I think gets that thing that's on the ground. So you leave spotless, right? Classroom, same thing, spotless. We're in Japan, we leave everything spotless. Japanese leave everything spotless. Better than what you left it. Respect, okay, the Japanese take their hats off. I think that's a sign of respect. Tell young players when the coach is talking to you, even if it's for 30 seconds, take your glasses off, sunglasses off. That's a sign of respect. You want to see their eyes. If you want to go further and have them take their hat off as a sign of respect, that's great too. Nothing wrong with that. But again, as a coach, especially working with young kids, try not to talk too much. Now, respecting your umpires. Now, I don't know if you do this, but possibly before a ball game, you can line up both teams. They kind of take their hats off. They bow to each other here. You can figure out something else to do. Maybe they shake hands before a ball game, but also the umpires are there, and the umpires shake hands. And that, teach your players to respect umpires, respect the field, respect your equipment, respect your opponents, be better than everybody else. Remember that. And don't forget, umpires make mistakes. Players are going to make mistakes. So you don't want to be yelling at umpires. First of all, you can't control anything they do, and anything you can't control is out of your control. So just worry about the next pitch or next situation that you got to do or you got to control. How about respecting your teammates when they need help? Check this out. This speeds up the process. Here's, these are older players. These are in their like pro players here, and they're helping their catcher put the equipment on. How about the glove or the hat in a glove on the bench, right? And maybe somebody made the last out, and it's the shortstop. Maybe second baseman grabs his glove and hat and brings it to him instead of letting him come all the way into the dugout because he may have given his batting helmet to the coach. Again, helping as a teammate. That's critical when it comes to building a culture. I'm just going to show you a couple things here. You could see here, there's for your practices. Sometimes you don't have all this equipment, but here they set up 3 different situations. It's a pitching machine, it's a bunting station, and it's a live pitcher. These are only 11-year-olds and a live pitcher throwing, but gives you an example. Use a catcher sometimes when you're throwing batting practice, if you're throwing it, or if your pitchers are throwing to hitters. There's a lot of ways to do different things when it comes to practice. You don't need all this equipment, but the idea is to get them involved and get them doing more and more things. Now, I realize this isn't about practice organization, but sometimes the things you do in practice, you can do between innings and games, prior to games, sometimes even after games. And I'll show you some of those coming up. One of the things that you should be doing all the time, every inning, even after, the inning's over with. There's nothing wrong with guys getting up there and swinging a bat a little bit, or during the game, if, they're sitting on the bench and not doing anything, there's nothing wrong with getting a couple guys to go swing the bat a little bit, or maybe do some soft toss, hit some balls off a tee into a net. They don't necessarily always have to be there for the game. Now, I get it. You want them there for a game to pay attention and to learn. There's times to do one, there's times to do another. So you as the coach are going to decide when to do these things. And that's what's neat about being the head coach, is you kind of decide what players need at certain times. But certainly after the inning, if you're not going to have a meeting, which you don't need to have a meeting after every inning, but once in a while you want to pull them in case you saw something as a group. But after the inning, there's nothing wrong with some guys swinging the bat a little bit. Now, the younger ones, be real careful because they don't pay attention. So you got to really be organized in doing this. The other thing is during games. Yeah, you could have guys doing soft toss, hitting off the tee, as you see here. There's a game going on, and yet you got guys working out all the time. One thing I wanted to add is you've got to practice sliding, okay? This is just one area on how they get players to slide and get down low right before they get to the bag. But sliding is important. Why? Because I'm sliding games. It's really not taught a lot. And, if you have any questions, email me and I'll give you some things on sliding. But, you've got to practice it. And as you practice it, players get better at it. One way to practice is lay them down first and put one leg under the other, like one leg, right leg under the other, under the left, and left leg under the right. And maybe get comfortable in that position, knowing where the hands are going to be. They're going to be up high, close to the body, thumb underneath. So that way you don't hurt your thumb in case you do put your hand down. But they're going to be by the ears here. You're trying to keep your upper body slightly up so you don't hit your head back, but maybe practice that and then make them run and slide. But that's another topic. Hopefully we'll be getting into it at another session. But practice the sliding aspect. What do players do before they get to practice? Let's say when they get to practice, it's early, nobody's there, or maybe there's a couple players and maybe one coach. Well, here's one thing we always forget to do is play a little pepper. You don't want them throwing a baseball yet because you want them warmed up, right? They don't want to throw the ball hard. But you could throw soft. You could roll ground balls to each other. Here we're trying to hit line drive back and forth by stopping, right? So players are doing something skill-wise instead of just sitting on the bench waiting for everybody to get there and doing nothing. Take every advantage of practice. Hey, young kids could run around and throw the ball up in the air if they don't want to play catch together. Throw the ball up in the air as they're running forwards, backwards, sideways. So prior to practice, there's a lot of little things they can do. They can roll ground balls to each other. They can bounce one hoppers. They can work on backhands, forehands. They can just do all kinds of stuff. As long as they're doing something, if they got a wall, throw a ball against the wall. That's always nice, right? Throw a ball against the wall, comes back, work on ground balls. So a lot of things you can do before practice. Now, what about during the pandemic? Continue practicing, whether it's indoors or if you're on Zoom. One thing you can do, because players need this a lot, you can have a little fun with them on Zoom. You can continue to talk strategy to young players, maybe show them a situation, right? Or a game. You guys could be watching a game on Zoom together. And then when a situation happens, you stop it. You ask them what they think you should have done at that particular time. As you look at this rundown, a little bit of a disaster, should have been quicker than that. You're trying to get the rundown done in one throw. You're trying to close the gap so the guy with the balls run as hard as possible. And then the guy with the ball throws it when they think it's the best time. And then the person receiving is coming forward also. So you're closing the distance of the runner, catch the ball, tag them. So you're trying to do it in one throw if possible. That's your goal, but you got to practice it. But my point here is you can also show it on video because you can't get out, let's say. And I know a lot of you guys gals are starting to get out now, but it would be during the time where you can really watch videos. And that's a lot of fun because players love to watch videos, but ask them what they were doing in those situations. All right. How about prior to the game? You're going to do a lot of different warm-ups, right? We could show you a million of them. I'm just going to show you a few that you might do, but more importantly, your warm-up should involve some type of skill development. What do I mean by that? Fielding ground balls. You don't field the ground ball, but if you're going to do it, go right, left field, right, left field. Or you might go backhand and shuffle as you're going on the backhand. Or you might go forehand as you're moving in a certain direction. And you're working on your movement, but you're also working on a skill. So here we're just doing, butt kicks. That's just getting the body loose. In this situation, they're doing some leads. They're doing some lead-offs. Then they're doing a primary where they're going to shuffle a couple times and then decide what's going to happen. If they're going to go back, they go back to the base. You're going to practice how to go back to the base. Again, those are skills talked about maybe in another session. But again, what are we doing in our warm-ups? We're working on leads, and it could be steals or it could be going back. There's a lot of things you can incorporate. Here's one where you're doing some strides. Now, why would you do strides? Because, they've got to develop the lower body. This strengthens and gives them flexibility. You can go backwards also, but why are you doing this? Well, some of these positions are like forehand, and sometimes there's a backhand position. So you're strengthening the body and preparing the body for those positions. We would always have gloves on when we do our warm-up. So we would go to a backhand position, you're in a forehand position. When you could also do it backwards to build the body, both sides of the body, make them equally strong, equally balanced. And where they're going to be weaker is going backwards. If you do these, don't do them for a long time. You could do them for, 5 or 8 of them, and then all of a sudden jog, right? Or do 3 or 4 backwards, then jog. Keep them moving all the time because it's boring just to continue to do the same thing over and over. A couple other ones you could do, skips. You can do skips backwards. As you know, there's so many different warm-ups. The creativity should be in trying to develop skill development here. So what would one of them be? It could be hitting, right? You could be in a hitting position. You take a step with your right foot, you lift your left, you take a swing, and you keep doing that down and you keep going just like they're doing here. They're going backwards. Now you're going to go forwards. You could actually practice your swing. You could actually practice your throws. You could take 2 shuffles and throw, 2 shuffles and throw, 2 shuffles and throw. Get your throwing in there while you're doing a warm-up. So remember, we're worried about time. So we're going to try to do some skill development. Here are some hops. Again, some strength development here. You're trying to get some strength with the lower body. So you do some hops, try to get low, and you're trying to go forward. See, some of the players are going straight up. What you're trying to do is jump forward as far as possible. That develops the lower body and the strength. You're the one that, as a coach, you're going to have to decide what my warm-ups are going to be, how many, how long, and possibly it could be what's critical. In other words, what your players need the most. So I think that would be good. This is just Japanese doing some quick footwork, and on a whistle, they'll move their feet as fast as possible, boom, and then they'll go on the whistle. So you can incorporate all kinds of different things when it comes to your warm-ups. How long do you want your warm-ups to be? Possibly 10, 15 minutes. It depends on the age. You want to make sure the whole body's loose. You want to do some arm exercises, right? Some shoulder moves. You've seen me do it a little bit. Some Karate Kid wipes. Most of you understand some of the things that we're doing in warm-ups. Remember, this is done prior to the game, okay? Have you ever done rundowns? There's drills where in your actual warm-up, you could actually do a rundown. There's one done well. One throw tag, they close the gap. Now you can set that up where you have 2 lines, or actually you could have 6 on one side, 6 on the other, and one player has the ball and they run and throw the ball to their partner. And now they're working on jogging, but yet they're working on throwing. They're working on rundown techniques. They're also working on, as they're moving forward, catching a ball as they're moving forward, because that's a skill in itself. So now think about that. In your warm-ups, you're also working rundowns. You could have 2 lines and have 6 in each line and just keep going. You could have 2 lines and do the same thing. Again, use your imagination. The key is to keep them moving as much as possible so they're warming up their body. All right, how about playing catch? A lot of times, prior to a game, we waste a lot of time playing catch, don't we? Because we just let them play catch and we're kind of sitting around waiting for them to get ready. We want catch play to be more game-like. So remember, you warm up the throw. You don't throw to warm up. So you got to take your time. So they're not going to throw hard right away, but at the same time, going to do some skill development. What do I mean by that? I'm going to show you some drills. So imagine now 6 players on one side and 6 on the other, and like they're playing catch. And these are the drills that they might do. Now, they could do them individually, or you can do them as a group with a whistle. You blow the whistle, they throw. You blow the whistle, they throw. And you're building some continuity here, some teamwork. And the reason I like the whistle is because they'll wait till you whistle and they'll get ready. So the better they get, the faster you go. And we're trying to work skill development with that 10 minutes, 12 minutes prior to game playing catch to get ready for the game. You're working game situations. Again, many ways to do this. I'm going to show you a few. One is to start sideways and you just shuffle and throw. Okay, because you got to get sideways to throw. Okay, so that's one way. Start sideways, shuffle, throw, go in the right direction. Another way is to start with the ball in your glove. Notice the ball is always in your glove. Start with the ball in your glove. Now you're facing the target. So what do you have to do here? Now you have to take your step with your foot, turn it. So in this case, his left foot, he's going to step forward, turn it, turn his body sideways, and throw the ball. At the same time, he's got to grip the ball properly and make a good throw. So now it's more like a game. And one of the toughest things to do is after you catch a ball is to grip it, throw it back. Well, you're going to do that in a ball game. You're going to do it in a relay. So the more you do it in practice, the easier it becomes a habit and the quicker they do it. So in this case, he's facing the target. He throws, turns and throws. Again, face the target, turn and throw. You're kind of building up to this. Now you're catching it and you're going to the throwing position. And you could have them shuffle, throw back. You're catching it. What are you working on here? You're working on getting rid of the ball as quick as possible out of the glove. Get a good grip. We don't want to, I only have so many minutes, so I got to be careful how much I speak on all this. But we're talking about, gripping the ball with 2 fingers, with the thumb underneath. It splits the fingers, right? It splits the middle of the ball. Keep the fingers close, not touching, but close, and try to get a 4-seam fastball, right? The ball has 4 seams. Try to grip across there so you can get good backward rotation. This drill also allows you to get in that throwing position and see where they're at a lot of times. If their elbow's way too low, if their hand is positioned too much this way instead of here towards that way more, not all the way back, but just turned a little bit. And this elbow up, the higher this elbow goes up, the harder you can throw the baseball. And again, these work in tandem together for great balance, but that takes some work. So again, you're doing it. The other part, you start in a fielding position, ball in the glove. Don't let them grip the ball because they're going to want to do that. And from the fielding position, they're going to go right to throwing. So again, they're throwing. The other group catches it. They put the ball in their glove and then they go. How many times you're going to do this? Maybe 2-3 times each drill, depending, again, what they need to work on. Later on, you can let them work on what their weaknesses are more than anything. You don't always have to do the same thing over and over. First, build continuity, and then later on, you can change that. Here's a forehand position. Now, there's a couple ways to do this, but Again, athletically, let them kind of feel what it's like to do it. Here's one way. If the ball's too deep, sometimes they'll turn and throw. If it's in front of them, they'll go the other way. But he just chose to do it this way because he caught it deep. Nothing wrong with this. You're going to want to turn the other way most of the time. But here, you're also working on balance, coordination, visual aspect, because you've got to keep your eyes on the target, your head balance, your head still. If your head starts to fly, then you're going to have a bad throw. So head control is important. Okay, here's the backhand. Again, he's just going to go forward and throw. Now, there's several backhands. Could be the right foot forward, left foot forward. Could be on an angle, depending where you catch it, right? Again, let them change and do different ones. We're just showing you one right here. What's great about this, later on, you could also add where the other person rolls on the ball, and now they go to the backhand and throw it back. And you might do 5 of those and then switch. Again, it gets a little bit more complicated. So let's stick with this. How about diving? Kids love to dive, but they got to practice diving. One way to dive is put the ball in the glove, start from the ground, and then let them work on getting up, turning, and throwing. From here, you can go 2 knees. And I'm not going to show you 2 knees, but you can go 2 knees and do the same thing. And then have them stand up, dive, right, left, forwards, backwards, anywhere. It doesn't matter. Let them dive a different position all the time. Come up and throw. And folks, this is also fun, especially young kids. They love this. We do this with high school. I've done it with older players. Older players are just like kids. They love something different all the time. Here's on your knees where they're actually rolling the ball and then getting up to throw. Here's a drill where you're going to work on practicing dropping the baseball. And I know most of you are saying, well, I don't have to practice this because they do it all the time naturally. We're trying to get them to stop from doing this. But what this does is this gets them to concentrate more, and it's going to happen in a ball game no matter what. In order to drop this baseball, they've got to catch it first. So now it actually focuses on catching. Then after they drop it, they got to hurry up because it's a game, get it, try to go down on top of the ball with your fingers. So you go down, not underneath and scoop it. Unless the ball's rolling, then you scoop it with 2 hands. But go down on top of it, make the throw. Again, something that might happen in a ball game. Hey, they do this in ball games. Sometimes they'll get a ground ball and they'll bobble it. Yeah, now you got to re-grip it and make the throw. Players could use their imagination. Anything in a ball game that you do, you can do in your drills prior to the game as your throwing routine. How about this one? You drop it, now you roll the ball out in front, just like if it hits your chest and way out in front. Now he just rolled it softly. You can throw it more and you can get them to move their feet faster. Remember, at first they start slow because they got to get used to the drills. As the drills become way too easy, then they got to speed up the pace. When it's way too easy, they got to go as quick as possible. Then you got to make the drill even harder because when it's easy, it's boring. When it's boring, they're going to find something else to do. Okay. So we don't want them to find something else to do. We want them to play baseball long term. So this is also fun if you make it competitively as an individual. Competition does not always have to be against the other player. Competition could be internally where you're competing against yourself, trying to be better at it. And most players are going to make mistakes when they do it fast. And that's okay because you're going to have to do it fast in a ball game. So do it fast in practice. Understand you're going to fail. People don't like to use the word failure, but they're going to not do it as well. But when they do fail, they get better at it because they start to understand how their body works. Here's another one where you drop it behind you, get the ball. That happens where the ball gets past you. You got to get it, make the throw. Here's young kids in Japan. These kids are only 8 years old. They're playing a little game where they got to go back and forth, back and forth. They're just throwing and working on timing. This is one of the best drills for young kids to really get into throwing by just throwing back and forth, catch, throw, catch, throw. They don't have to do it fast. You'd be surprised. This you should do every day for at least 2-3 minutes. If you can do it longer, fantastic. They don't have to do long, distance, but the longer you do it, the better they get at it. And if they do it every day, you see the rhythm behind, you see their feet moving, their hands working, the natural throwing position comes in more. Now, this is one of the fun drills, but also it's one of the better drills to teach throwing. Again, this is what's going to happen in a ball game. These are 8-year-olds. Here's a little game they play where they count how many they can do without dropping it and then see who does the best. This is more who does the best. This is more of a team game. More than individual. The only thing I don't like about this that the other players have to sit and wait because they're done already. Another game they'll play is where everybody's doing it, and then when you drop it, you got to sit. and you see how many you did in a row. Again, that works on what else too? Works on teamwork. Works on what? Moving to catch the ball. You got to help your teammate out. Don't be lazy, right? Because if you want to win the game, you got to play the game together. Now, if the gal throws right or left, you got to move your feet, anticipate a bad throw. So those are fun games. All right, how about during games and between innings? Can you get practices done? Can you get skill development done? Absolutely. You can keep your players busy on the bench, and you can keep them learning the game. One way, somebody can keep the quality of bats chart. Now, many of you know what quality of bats are. The batting average isn't always the best qualifier of how a player's doing, because you might hit 4 line drives and 4 outs, and the player thinks, man, this is terrible. I'm 0 for 4. Throw that out. It's all about things they do well. You know they're going to fail. You know they're going to make mistakes, and you have to explain that to them, because unfortunately, majority of the time they're doing that. They're not batting 1,000. So they may be batting 300 or 333 with 3 hits, 10 at bats. But what about quality of bats where if I hit a line drive, if I get a hit, obviously, if I get hit by a pitch, if the pitcher throws 6 or 8 more pitches, but yet I strike out, but that's pretty good, 6 to 8 pitches, you battled them. You have to determine what the level is here to determine all this. What about if there's a man on third, you hit a fly ball and they score a run? What about if there's a man on second, you hit the ball to the right side, ground ball, and the guy goes to third with nobody out? You may have gotten an out, but you just moved them to third, and now they have a chance, 2 chances to score that runner on third. High percentages. There's so many ways to score from third base. How about a bunt that moves 2 runners over in a critical situation? Now a fly ball scores a run. There's so many different ways that you can look at the positives. And by the way, these quality at bats shouldn't be only for hitting. What about pitchers? You could have a chart for pitchers. You could have a chart for catchers blocking the ball, catchers throwing a guy out, catchers framing the ball, and you get a strike on the count. Catcher blocking, come up and making a good throw. There's so many different things you can look at to see when a catcher does some things well, and you keep points, right? In this case, the points are if you're 4 for 7, you're hitting 571, right? Now quality of bats, you're looking at fielding. You're looking at 26 to 55 or 72. What do they mean by all this? If you batted 4 times and you have 2 quality bats, now you're 2 for 4. Now next game you did the same thing. Now what? You're 4 for 8. So you keep adding those, and that's their quality of bats instead of their batting average. Love it. You can do it for base running. You can do it for fielding. So many things you can do it for. Again, that depends how much time, what age group you're working with, and now who's keeping track of this? Players on the bench, because now it keeps them in the game a little bit. How about using a stopwatch? One of your players could be using a stopwatch. What can they be timing during the game? The pitcher throwing the home. How long does it take? Once they set, as soon as they lift their foot to throw home, you start the stopwatch. Ball touches the catcher's glove, you stop it. Now, at the big league level, that might be 1.3 seconds, okay? That gives you an idea, because another guy is going to time the catcher throwing the ball to second base, okay, during the game. So they're looking for situations where the catcher's throwing down. They're going to time when the catcher catches the ball or touches it, when the throw's made, and then as soon as the second baseman, shortstop touch the ball, put the stop the stopwatch. What's that time? If it's 2 seconds and the pitcher's 1.3, we got 3.3. I'll tell you what, at the high levels, you ain't going many places with 3.3 if you're a runner at first, because most guys with their leadoff aren't going to get there quick enough. That gives you an idea. What you can also do early on in your practices, and I know I'm going back to practice, but you can time your runners too on the leadoff, see how long it takes them to get to second base. But what are you doing here? You're keeping guys busy, understanding the game. Does this have to be perfect? No. They're going to make mistakes on the time. That's fine. They're going to get better at it as they do it. But then again, that helps. You could also time your runners stealing second base. If somebody's stealing second, soon on first movement during a game, because remember, in practice and during games are usually going to be 2 different times. In a game, you get the real time on anything else. So again, keeps players busy and learning the ball game. How about the first baseman? Someone during the game should have the first baseman have a baseball. That's their responsibility. First baseman comes in, you throw him the ball. That way, first baseman's got it. When they come back out, rolling ground balls between innings, even though I don't like the first baseman rolling ground balls because that's not where the ball comes from. It comes from home, but we have no option. That's one option. There is a better option, and we'll talk about it in a minute here. So now you got one guy busy. That's their responsibility. How about an outfielder playing with the right fielder or left fielder, depending where your bench is at, playing catch between innings? They could be throwing them fly balls. They can be rolling ground balls, doing all kinds of things with them. Again, practicing. Now that could be a two-way thing. It doesn't have to be just the guy with the ball, the gal with the ball thrown to the right fielder. The right fielder could do it back to the person because they're working on their skills. They could be thrown straight doing cutoffs and relays. So you could have the outfielder throw and the other person fakes a relay just to practice that. And then he throws them another fly ball. Again, keeping another plane busy, but also working on skills. How about your second baseman? Excuse me. Your first baseman, you can have two first basemen between innings while your pitcher's warming up. He's got normally 8 pitches. Some leagues change. It might go to 5, 4, depending. So again, you make the decision. If you have two first basemen, move one down the line a little bit. You could have the second baseman throwing to him or her, and you could have the other two, second and short, throwing to the other first baseman. I know it's not as natural or realistic with the game, but you got more players involved in doing things. What about players keeping charts? Players keep chart outfield pitchers of your opposing pitcher. Excuse me. So, you could have a chart of where your opposing pitcher, you're charting where they're throwing pitches. Did they throw a ball? Was it outside? Was it down? Was it a fastball? Was it a changeup? I know a lot of you guys are working with young kids, so maybe it's just a fastball. That's fine. Was it a fastball away or fastball in? Why would you start this? Again, you're creating a good habit because you're looking for consistencies in that pitcher. So now you're getting kids on the bench to practice watching those guys and gals. I know you have a situation where a lot of times when the runner on first, you're going to have your players yell back from the bench, right? Because the opposing pitcher throws the pick. Why are you doing that? Not to help the runner at first, because it's a delay call, as you know. By the time you yell back, that guy's picked off already. They got to hear it, go to the brain, go to the feet, and by then it's too late. You coach first base. You could yell back all you want. Sure, it helps a little bit, especially if the throw's not good. But what you're really doing it on the bench for is so all the players are identifying the move of the pitcher. So now if they're yelling back all the time, they're now concentrating on when they should get back. If I had space, I would get them on the outside of the fence. When the pitcher throws to first, I'd have them, working on the footwork back. Again, that's a little bit more advanced. But those are some of the things you can do. You can be creative too. Don't forget, be very creative on what you're going to do on the bench. Think about what happens in the game the most and see how you can get your players on the bench to help out. The other thing, as a coach on the bench, if you've got an extra coach, and I realize some of you only have, you're the only coach. Some of you may have a lot of coaches. But if you have a coach and you got players on the bench, always ask questions during situations like, what would you throw in this particular call, 2-1 count to this hitter in this situation? What would you have done in that relay situation? What would you have done as that runner? Let them answer the questions, okay? Maybe they got an order because you want to force them to be able to think, because they're not going to just shout it out most of the time. So maybe, the first question goes to John, the second to Joey, the third to Ann, and so forth. So again, those are things you could do on the bench, man. There's always ways to train players. Now, between innings, you guys do this all the time. You roll ground balls from the first baseman. The problem is it can get boring because it's just a ground ball. They don't pay attention. They're fielding routine, throwing it there. Sometimes they lob it there. Well, that's not really doing any good unless their arm hurts. That's a different ball game. If their arm hurts, take it easy. I understand that part. But look here. Here's a little chart I put together for you. Maybe in the first inning, and I went 9 innings, but it doesn't matter. You can match this up however you like. But in the first inning, they get a ball right at them. So the first baseman is rolling the ball, unfortunately. You got to do it that way. And you get a ground ball right at them, you make the throw. Now, you could have a player behind first base, foul territory, with a stopwatch, just to time, see how long it took them, right? A runner takes let's say 4 seconds to get to first. They got to do it before 4 seconds from the time they roll the ball. It's not exactly perfect, but it's pretty good and it's competitive. The other part now, the second inning, when you get a ground ball, you go backhand only. Now, no matter where they roll the ball, you got to go to your backhand. You got to feel with your backhand, make the throw. Backhand, forehand, they don't practice enough. So this is a good time to do that. Forehand, the third inning. The fourth inning, maybe they get a slow roller. You got to come on the run and throw it on the run. Hey, if you didn't practice it, just try it. That's fun. Let them throw it on the run. You might need a another first baseman or somebody backing up the first baseman, another player there, maybe with another ball. Because if they throw the ball away, you want to be able to roll another one right away. So you're not wasting time. Again, think how you're going to do this. That keeps players on the bench busy, right? Another one is, how about double plays? We don't practice double plays. You say, well, they're only 11. That's okay, or only 10. It's still fun to throw. And folks, we are not taking calls at this time, even though we are talking to our friends at BC Minor Baseball, the best baseball organization in the world. I'm telling you, what a great organization. I miss all these guys and gals. I can't wait for next year's convention. Double plays. Oh, at 10 years old. You know what? You're just making different throws. Throw to second, tag to base, throw to first. That's fun. Even if they don't do it in a ball game, maybe they will. They'll surprise you if you practice it. How about fielding the ball, dropping it, and then throwing like we did in the prior to the game warm-ups? How about fielding it, bobbling it, and throwing? That's the next inning. Each player can bring a ball to the infield, and they start with the ball in the glove in different positions. So third baseman's got a ball. They start on the forehand. They make the throw to first. First baseman catches it, rolls it back to him, and the third baseman now has to field it to that same position that they started in. While that's happening, the shortstop has a ball. They're throwing to first, okay? They're rolling the ball. First baseman's rolling the ball back, and again, second base is next. If you had two first basemen, then this can go a little quicker. So again, there's another way. How about let guys pick what they believe is their weakness and work on it? That could be another inning. Again, so many ways to do this, but those are some ideas. I hope this helps you. Keep training your players during ball games. How about your pitchers during ball games? If they're warming up prior to a game, or if it's a pitcher coming into the game, they should always have a batter there warming up with them. That batter should be there consistently. Why? Because that's the way you're going to see it in a ball game. The batter can get work, timing, visual, working on their timing. They're not going to hit the ball, obviously, and the pitcher gets practice before they get into a ball game with a real hitter in there. You could have a right-handed hitter, left-handed. You could switch it off, but that's important. This should always happen as much as possible at possibly all levels where you have pitchers pitching in the game. How about when you throw down to second base? Do you always have to throw down to second base? No. But where does your second baseman shortstop start? Most of the time, they're at the bag, right? One person's at the bag, the other one's backed up. That's not how it happens in a ball game. You want to practice the real situation. And the real situation is that is the second baseman shortstop at their position. And now, when the pitcher delivers the ball, you got to wait till the ball gets past the hitter a little bit, make sure they didn't hit it yet, and then you break for the base. So you might come in a little bit as an infielder. You're coming in and then break to the base. And you want to do this every inning where they get practice. The pitcher delivers the ball, and now after he delivers it, then they break. And this is real game situation every inning. So you're going to do 7, 8 of these throws. Now, do you have to throw to second base? No, you can throw to first base. That way for me. Third base, you can mix it up because you're going to have throws to first base. You could have the first baseman off the bag, then come back behind the runner, throw the ball there. You could have a catcher go to the knee, right knee, and make the throw to first base. If they're strong enough, throw the ball to third also. So again, what are you doing? You practice real game situations during the game. I do this. I don't recommend you guys doing this because your leagues may not allow it, but you can do it in practice. And that is when a pitcher is warming up, I have a coach there and they're hitting ground balls during the warm-up. I get more ground balls on 8 pitches than I do my first baseman. Notice the fielders are fielding the ball. I got players that are busy. See, you got a line there where they're constantly, there's a ball. The coach constantly has a ball and they're constantly getting ground balls. I love this. You can get a lot out of this. If you're going to do this in a ball game, they allow you to do it. Make sure you practice it first, that you've done it a few times in practice. How about, again, between innings? Do they always have to have the first baseman roll the ball? No. First baseman. Now, again, this should be practiced more advanced. You may not want to do this with young kids if you're not comfortable because you'll end up with 3 baseballs at home plate. First baseman has the ball. What's the first baseman doing? They're throwing the ball to the right fielder. Throwing fly balls, ground balls. First baseman's working on a relay home. They're not relaying home because the pitcher's practicing his 8 warm-ups. Now you're getting ground ball, and they're doing the same thing. Again, more game situation. How about your second baseman, shortstops? They could throw a fly ball, ground ball. You can do a throw straight to the base. This player did it wrong. The shortstop had their back to the runner. That's a good way to get killed. But again, you get the idea. Now, it might be a throw where it's a relay throw because the ball is further and you need a relay. That's not a relay throw. Again, players are learning here, but that's another situation. This is going on at the same time that the first baseman's doing theirs. And how about your third baseman throwing to third base? You got to love this. Here you could throw home or third base. Here's he choose to throw directly to the base. Again, game situation. Take the throw, make the tag. And the next one, he may decide to relay home, not throw the ball home because you're just practicing. And remember, there's an umpire. That umpire might get mad. He's got all kinds of balls coming home. Your catcher and pitcher may not like it. So, but we like it because we practice this a lot. Finally, I know I may have gone through this quick. I know they're going to show the videos where you're going to be able to see the presentation. You guys all know and gals know about my book. You can go to canada.humankinetics.com if you want to order it. There's a lot of drills there. Again, it's, I think it's a great book, but again, I wrote it, so I believe it's very good. If you have any questions, you got my email. Please, coaches, check anytime. I'd be glad to talk to you. If you ever want to do a Zoom call, that's fine too. You want to get a bunch of coaches on and then just do a question and answer session. I'd be glad to do that. I'm always here to help you. You know that I've said it on the podcast. I've said it around the world. I've said it everywhere. Volunteer coaches, to me, are the most important coaches in the world, moms and dads who give their time to help young kids. But if you're going to do it well, have fun doing it, be excited, be prepared, try to get each player to get better on their own. Also, don't put all the pressure on yourself because you can't do everything. They've got to practice on their own. Remember parent meetings, talk to the parents, explain this to them, tell them that you can help so much. You can give the information. You can help the players a little bit in practice, but they've got to get better and involve the parents, educate the parents, because if the parents are involved, because not all of them coach, maybe show them some drills, how to play catch at home, or, some hitting drills on wiffle balls. And the other thing is, I know it's not practice organization. I'll finish it off with this. Hey, go back to playing some wiffle ball games. Go back to playing a game where they just lob the ball in on their own and play a game on their own while you just watch them play. That's a good practice. Nothing wrong with that. That's a lot of fun. If you get really young kids, go 5-on-5 with, and the big barrel. You guys do it a lot, right? We do it a lot with the caravans. And I miss my guys, Mike Kelly and Grant Reimer, coaches on the caravan. There's other coaches that have been in the caravan, Orville, Jermaine, and some others. Man, I love working with them. They know so much about the game, but big bat, big ball, very light, 5-on-5. That's a lot more fun. They're going to hit the ball all the time. And maybe if they're real young kids, they throw the ball to the coach. If you want to throw to first base, that's up to you. But again, go back to some things that we used to do once in a while just to make it fun for them. I remember playing 9-on-9. We would just lob the ball underhand to each other and they'd hit it. A lot happens when you just hit the ball all the time, man. You're working on defense. Okay, folks, that is the end of my presentation for now. There's so much to discuss. I want to wish you all a great season. I know a lot of you guys and gals are getting outside soon. Remember, it's for the players. Let them play the game. Let them have fun during the game. Be there to guide them. It's kind of like that bowling alley, right? Where you're rolling the ball. You put the gutter, whatever they call them, on the sides so the ball doesn't fall off. You're kind of bringing them back into there when they need it. Ask them a lot of questions. Be positive. Look at the things they do well in ball games. And if you're a parent, we talk about this all the time. When they're done with the ball game, hey, I just love watching you play. Fantastic. Good or bad, you're gonna have some good days, some bad days, some in between. No big deal. Learn from the mistakes you made. Get better at it. Practice more. Go home. If the kids have questions, answer their questions. If they don't want to talk about it that day, relax. Don't talk about it. All right. All right, folks. Love you. Stay healthy, safe. Get back on the field, and I will see you soon. God bless you all. Bye-bye.